Chan was cultivating inside the system's security, as he had a blue aura covering his body. The system instructed him to relax his thoughts, breathe gently, and channel the scattered spiritual force between heaven and earth into development, strengthening it in the Dantian. Chan accomplished precisely that, as the blue spiritual energy of heaven entered his body and went right to his stomach, while the red energy of earth entered his feet and went straight to his stomach as well. The system went on to state that when his cultivation reached its maximum, he would have his first breakthrough. The spiritual energies of heaven and earth were merged. He had his breakthrough, and then he was done. He sighed, wondering why he felt uncomfortable after developing his cultivation, which had only risen somewhat. The reason it grew somewhat is because Chan has been cultivating his whole life, and his body is already accustomed to breaking through, and his spiritual force is tremendous. So now that he's doing it deliberately, he believes his cultivation has only grown slightly. The system was eating a watermelon, and she said that trash like him who need an outside assistance to get started on the cultivation route, he should be thankful for all of this. Chan was outraged, and he stood up to strike her, asking angrily, "Can't she keep quiet?" The system chuckled, informing him that he was becoming impatient. The system's security alarm went off unexpectedly inside. Both Chan and the system were taken aback. Inside Chan's room, the two assassins entered the room quietly, and the other one who was closing the door gently stated that they should act quickly since it would be problematic if someone found out. The other one took out his knife and told him not to worry, assuring him that he would never miss a shot. While the assassin walked to where Chan was sleeping, he appeared in the actual world, and in the back of his mind, he pondered what he was doing. When he glanced at the assassin, he was surprised that they had come here to murder him. In the back of his mind, Chan felt amused, aware that he had been targeted like a mushy persimmon. The assassin leaped, shouting in the back of his mind, "Die!" Chan used his spiritual force to attack the assassin. The assassin was blasted back. The second assassin was perplexed, unsure what was going on. Chan appeared in front of the assassin number 2, chuckling and inquiring whether he was searching for him. The assassin spun back quickly, astonished and even more perplexed as to how this was possible. The assassin had little time to react, so Chan unleashed his spiritual power again as he swung his blow at his face. He was knocked out instantly. The power produced by Chan's strike blew up the ceiling. The system emerged, and when she noticed Chan, she shook her head, amazed that he didn't discriminate, and would seize and loot everything he came across. And certainly, Chan was looting the assassin. Chan said that they had been given all of the cultivation skills that they had eventually mastered. He reasoned that it would be better if he could find something useful to compensate for his losses. While looking, Chan was surprised to discover that this individual was from Jixiang village. His name was Zhao Yi, and he had a token with words. Chan was perplexed as to why this individual had all of his personal information in him, as he was aware that assassins should not have personal information in them in case they were apprehended. The system was amused that someone was still registering genuine names for assassination. On the day of the school's inaugural ceremony, on the central square of the Jia Tai Academy, the headmaster spoke, congratulating the pupils on becoming members of the Jia Tai Academy. He enthusiastically extended a hearty welcome to everyone on behalf of the whole faculty. All the students were just listening to what the headmaster was saying. The headmaster continues to claim that this school has a rich historical background. For thousands of years, this region has produced an abundance of skills and specialists. While the headmaster was speaking, Chan looked to the side, and he saw another name with a surname similar to the assassin's, and he was perplexed when he saw this. He whispered to Jiang Rushua that there seemed to be a lot of people with the surname Jiang at this institution. He wanted to know why it was the case. Jiang Rushua stated that the Jiangs are the biggest family in Jiatia City. Anyone with talent is nearly often given the surname Jiang. She said that it was typical. He grew contemplative, recognizing that the number of suspects had grown significantly. The headmaster went on to remark that the majority of them come here for knowledge and that the Jiatai Academy prioritizes moral education and instruction. With a bright smile on his face, he happily said that new students at Jiatai Academy, they should be thankful and contribute to the nation in the future. He went on to remark that the Tianyuan continent was experiencing enormous unification, which was led by the Tianyuan Empire. In the back of his mind, he knows that the Tianyuan Empire is ruled by an emperor who is supposed to have attained the half-step immortal level of cultivation. He understands that the emperor leads the globe, and 7 feudal lords are assigned to oversee various territories. Although the situation seems to be peaceful, there is ongoing conflict in the background. He spoke loudly and seriously, instructing everyone that if they discovered suspected spies from other provinces, they should report it to the school. Once validated, the academy will not allow them to go. This idiot, whose name I forgot, chuckled as he recognized what a wonderful chance this was, so he stepped up and bowed to the headmaster, informing him that he had sorted the new student records this morning and discovered a suspicious point. The headmaster told him he may talk freely. The idiot smiled, glanced at Chan, and said, "If that's the case, I'll be straightforward." He began to tell him that this time, among the new pupils, there was just one who didn't have an identification card and no reference letter from a local lord or clan. When the idiot stared at him again, Chan became worried, thinking he was speaking about him. The idiot pointed at Chan and asked if he had anything to explain. Chan was just shocked. Everyone gasped and gazed at him in disbelief. People backed away from him in disbelief, and someone said loudly that he couldn't be a craftsman without an identifying card. Another kid stepped forward, stating that he heard he took out such a large crystal core yesterday. The other student was stunned and impressed that he had such a large crystal. Another student questioned the others about who could achieve this as a regular freshman. "There is obviously something fishy," he stated. People were chatting about him. Chan simply sat there peacefully. He was smiling on the surface, but on the inside, he was freaking out, screaming in his head that the problem with wearing clothing is that it is simple to become a gang member. He pondered how to convey this. Jiang Rushue remarked, claiming that Chen Fan is not a diligent artist. She stood up and said that his identifying plate had been misplaced in the Behemoth Mountains. "I can attest." She spoke boldly. Chan was stunned by what she said. The moron gave her a dark grin and questioned why she was interrupting. The fool mocked her, asking, "Are you so eager to help him explain that you are also involved in the matter of connecting with foreign countries?" Jiang Rushue was sick and weary of this person, so she yelled, calling him a bloody mouth. Suddenly, the fool leaped from where he was, intending to assault Chan. He said, "There was no need to waste any more words." He said that everything would become evident when he was questioned. Chan smirked as he was ready to fight him. Elder Jiang remained motionless, his hand radiating a dark purple aura and ready to strike. Chan darted away, teasing him for his lack of speed. The fool's eyes widened with surprise when he saw this. He smiled and asked whether he really believed he was too slow. He yelled, "Then try this!" He uses his other hand to unleash an attack on the protagonist. The fool underestimated Chan too much, and Chan quickly grabbed his hand, telling him that he was still an elderly turtle on his way to the nest. The moron was stunned and perplexed. He then slowly snapped his hand. The moron was infuriated. He assumed he was employing tricks and said, "What's his trick?" Chan responded honestly, saying that he never used any methods to deal with a piece of garbage like him. Just utilizing Yunsho is sufficient. Chan then utilized the Yunsho method to push and tug him around. Jiang Rishua was merely standing to the side, shocked, wondering what had occurred. She was stunned that Jiang Jun, the imbecile, was really letting the senior push him about without protesting at all. The moron clenched his teeth in wrath and thought Chan's actions were unusual. Chan stretched his palm towards him and used one of his less strong techniques to send the idiot flying. Elder Jiang let forth a piercing cry. As he was forced backward, the pupils exclaimed with concern. Elder Jiang! Chan closed his eyes and exhaled. While he did this, his physique gave off a brilliant shine. Jiang Rishua was amazed that the senior had finally shown his true might. The headmaster was astonished. This guy was able to readily deploy the Tao patterns of heaven and earth, and he felt that his level was equivalent to that of an emperor. Chan opened his eyes, which were shining gold, and with a serious expression, he indicated it was time to call it a day, as he planned to return to his dormitory and rest or something. The headmaster and Jiang Jingyun were taken aback by his uncharacteristically comfortable look. Jiang Rushua was just staring at him with love and adoration. A strange lady entered, and she paused when she noticed Chan, thinking to herself, "It turns out you are here." Chan was perplexed as to why Elder Jiang was blown back so far, given that he had only utilized a little amount of power. He gasped in horror, thinking that the goal of this old man was to condemn him. He believed that portraying him as a spy would not be effective. Chan assumed that the moron just intended to get into trouble. The strange lady swooped down from the sky, and Chan detected something in the sky and glanced up to see what it was. He and everyone else were in awe of this woman's attractiveness. This lady employed the air method to fly down. She landed on the ground. When she landed on the ground, the headmaster bowed and instructed all instructors and students of Jiaotai Academy to pay their respects to the superintendent. The headmaster questioned why he had just said Chan was powerful and how a mere freshman could be at heaven-defying level. He ignored the idea that Chan was powerful, believing that it was this unknown lady who took action. This was not true at all, since this lady utilized her power immediately after Chan had blasted the moron away. The old guy then asked why she did this, since he assumed she was the one who took action. Jiang Jingyun was on his knees, golden chains around his arms, and he yelled, "Miss Superintendent! I am faithful to King Yunyu." He was enraged and demanded to know why she was treating him this way. The mysterious lady, who now seems extremely familiar, responds, asking if he wants to know why she's doing this. She then asks him a question before she can ask that question. She used her space portal skills to smack him in the face before telling him that King Yunyu had ordered him to open the academy to recruit talents. She then questioned him what he was doing, since what she was witnessing right now was pure crap. She slapped him again, so brutally that Elder Jiang coughed up blood. She went on to inform him that she believes it is prudent not to accept his position as head of the Jiang family. Chan was shocked as he saw all of this unfold in front of him. Elder Jiang bent deeply and implored her to calm down, assuring her that it was all the villagers' responsibility, and promising that it would never happen again. The strange lady cautioned Elder Jiang to maintain his pledge. Otherwise, it won't be as easy to be smacked the following time. The headmaster begged her to please come down. The headmaster pledged to study hard in the future, and not allow this to happen again. He nicely requested her to go to the VIP room and relax first. Meanwhile, Chan remained to the side, gazing at the enigmatic lady. In the back of his mind, he noticed that this person's voice seemed familiar. The strange lady tightened her fist, expressing her rage at Elder Jiang's assault on Chan, before calmly responding to the headmaster, ordering him to just lead the way. The wind began to pick up, and her gorgeous face was exposed. This person was Xiuwu, and Chan was surprised that it was his wife, and he was even more perplexed as to how she had gotten into this realm in the first place. In front of Jiaotai Academy's Shangfang Yard, the headmaster respectfully advised Miss Superintendent to take a break for the time being and not to take it personally. Miss Superintendent said that if the dean is too courteous, she will be rude. The headmaster bowed, informing her that he had resigned as headmaster. He kindly explained that he had to bother her about hosting the entrance competition tomorrow. The lady was astonished that the elderly guy was assigning her chores, and none of them saw Chan or the system watching them from the bushes. When Chan questioned the system whether she believed there were two persons in the world that sounded and looked so similar, the system said that they followed her to the door so she could validate if it was her or not. When Chan heard this, he became upset and said, If she was Xiaowu, how could she not recognize me? He inquired. The system smiled at him, believing that a boy's feelings were usually inclined toward poetry. Chan suggested to the dog system that maybe she is correct. The system asked him what he wanted to do. Chan hastily jumped out of the bushes, thinking to himself that whether it was a coincidence or not, he couldn't stay in this circumstance. He continued to believe that he had to find out what was going on. He continued walking, wondering whether it was truly Xiao Wu. When Chan arrived in a new area, he investigated it. Suddenly, the lady in front of him looked at him emotionlessly and questioned what he was doing here. Chan screamed in astonishment as he jumped back in fright. The lady opened her mouth and said, "Discourteous person, do you know that breaking into the residence of King Yunu's envoy without permission is enough to be punished by death?" Chan was still breathing quickly, his pulse racing with adrenaline from the jolt he had received. Chan smiled uncomfortably and told her that he was simply passing by, then asked whether she believed what he said. The lady smiled gently and released her aura before asking what he thought. Chan took a big breath, exhaled, and said hi. He then bowed and said, "He is here because the superintendent resembled someone he knew. He said that he only wanted to make sure she was her, and that he meant no disrespect." Xiao Wu pretended to look surprised that there was someone who looked like her. In the back of Chan's mind, he remembered Miss Superintendent whipping Jiang Jun precisely like a dog. He was determined that if he took action, he would strike first. The lady couldn't stop thinking about what he had said. She then moved her hand as if she were about to do something, which shocked Chan, who assumed she was about to assault him. But she didn't do that. Instead, she placed her hand on her chin. She mumbled that he had risked his life for her. She inquired, "Who is she to him?" Chan breathed a sigh of relief since he really thought she was going to assault him. He then firmly said, "She is my wife and the person I love most in the world." He boldly said that he has no remorse about whether she wants to murder him or not, all for the sake of his sweetheart. When she heard it, she smiled and whispered about how courageous and powerful he was. Chan was surprised and wondered why she was smiling. When he looked at her closely, his eyes widened in surprise as he recognized her when she removed whatever was on her face. She winked, smiled warmly, and inquired if he was surprised to see her. Chan was astonished. His mouth fell in surprise and he stammered, claiming it was actually her. He inquired as to why she was here. She explained that it is not only about finding him. Xiao Wu continued to say that the strategy of revitalizing the nation via science and technology that he pursues is very beneficial. She stated that science is really amazing since it can change the creation of heaven and earth into spiritual energy. She went on to say that the contemporary Wuming Mountain is full of spiritual force like never before. She informed him that the Empress had instructed the others to live up to the Master's chants, and that everyone should develop swiftly. Everyone agreed with what she stated, even Chan's dog. She went on to remark that his leaving motivated everyone to train intensively. When she realized that the global community no longer needed her leadership, and she missed him, she traveled to Tianyuan continent. So, essentially, she was strong enough to traverse another dimension, and she added that Jian Ayahan, Qin Yin, and the others had already ascended. Chan inquired as to where the others were. Xiao Wu responded that the communication jade token could not be utilized on the Tianyuan continent, so they all dispersed. This indicates that Xiao Wu, Jian Ayahan, and Qin Yin are in Tianyuan continent. Chan was fascinated, so he asked his wife how she became the supervisor. She stated that the place she appeared at was the capital city of Yunyu State, for the sake of ease in gathering information. "I suggested myself for King Yunu's staff, but I had no idea I'd meet you," she stated. She smiled and remarked, "Perhaps this is God's guidance in the darkness." After all of that, she informed him that he still owed her something. Chan had no idea what she was talking about, and he was startled that he owed her anything. He inquired what it was. Xiao Wu flushed slightly and murmured into his ear, informing him that he owed her a cave, chamber, flowers, candles, and a knight. Chan's eyes widened in astonishment, having already picked up on what she was saying because, let's face it, males had a knack for it. In the upstairs bedroom, Xiaowu inquired seductively if he wanted it. She encouraged him to be gentler. Both of them held hands, and Xiaowu expressed concern to Chan about her dread of pain. Chan smiled and consoled her, assuring her gently that he would always adore her. Both of them kissed, and codes dropped to the floor. They were on bed while they were kissing each other. Chan complimented her, saying she is gorgeous, and they began the dual cultivation. Chan sighed in pleasure. He muttered that this is so soft. He added that this feeling is so addictive. I'm no mind reader, but I think it's safe to say that anyone with half a brain could figure out what he was trying to say. And they continued their dual cultivation. Xiaowu was quite pleased with certain locations. She was on cloud 9, feeling like she had landed in paradise. As their dual cultivation progressed, Chan couldn't help but reveal his feelings for his wife. In exchange, Xiaowu assured her husband that she loved him equally. The following morning, Chan awoke and wondered whether it was sunrise. He awoke Xiaowu, wondering whether it was daybreak. Xiaowu reacted to him with a seductive "Good morning," delivered in such a compelling way that Chan's nose uncontrollably dripped blood. She did so intentionally since she wished to continue her dual cultivation. Chan stopped her gently, joking that now that she was officially his wife, he couldn't depend on her. Xiaowu was irritated. She softly hit his chest and expressed her dislike that he had to be responsible. At that moment, the old man was outside the room and asked Miss Superintendent whether she was awake. He added that today's college competitiveness demands her to assess these pupils' abilities. The abrupt intrusion took both of them off guard, prompting Xiaowu to jump out of bed in a second. The old guy heard no one from within, and he continued, "If you are here, please respond to me." Xiaowu was somewhat panicked as she immediately answered that she was here and asked him to wait a minute. As she was about to get out of bed and change, Xian swooped in for a surprise embrace, catching her off guard and forcing her to scream. The headmaster heard the scream and inquired, concerned, as to what was happening. Xiaowu replied that nothing was wrong. Xiaowu told her husband to quit, causing issues. She said that Tianyuan Continent's senior administration has long aspired to discover the mysteries of the lower planes. In order to behave successfully, she must conceal her true identity. Chan said slowly, "What about our relationship?" She informed him that they had to keep their connection a secret and not reveal it. Chan was ready for round 2, so they headed back to bed, eager to begin another round of dual cultivation. Xiaowu spoke, informing the elderly man that she would be there in an hour. The headmaster stammered and agreed with her statement. An hour later, back at the college dorm, Chan was dashing like a cheetah, thinking to himself, "He was way too pumped." Little Chan Jr. made an early morning exercise, and because of that, he almost missed the admission competition. He suddenly paused in his tracks, droplets of sweat gathering on his forehead. His eyes landed on his ripped jeans, the result of his too eager, Junior, bursting through the cloth last night. He recalled that yesterday was so intense that his trousers were shredded, and he had no idea. He began to mend his trousers. With his abilities active as the god of sewing, and as usual, he had no idea he was manufacturing a magical weapon via his pants. He intended to swiftly patch it, change his clothing, and depart. After mending it, he was going to put on the trousers, but he was stopped by Elder Jiang, who shouted at him, calling him a shameless bastard and said he was hiding here. Chan let out a surprised yell and spun around to see who had taken him off guard. He lunged at him as he was about to strike him, shouting that the supervisor couldn't help him this time. The fool yelled enthusiastically for him to perish. He kept shouting that this was what would happen if he upset his Jiang family. Chan was caught off guard. He closed his eyes, and he didn't see his energy circulating around his body as he closed his eyes in terror. He used his trousers as if they were indestructible shields, ready to protect him from any threat. Little did he realize his trousers were really miraculous. As it emitted a great force and deflected Elder Jiang's strike, his trousers became a magical weapon because Chan utilized his abilities as the god of sewing. He transferred a small amount of power into his pants. Unconsciously, and it transformed into a magical weapon. The pants emitted a tremendous energy that blew Elder Jiang aside. Elder Jiang was stunned and couldn't believe it. He shouted in horror that his pants was a concealed thunder before he could say more. He collapsed and Chan did not notice his tremendous energy from his trousers. He was mortified that the crouch split was visible through his jeans, and he thought to himself, what a shame. A minute later, Chan pulled on his trousers, looked behind him, and mumbled that the problem had already been handled. He said that he was not a spy and opted to enroll at the academy later. He pondered what he should do next. A few hours later, Chan was envisioning himself wielding a pistol and killing other pupils. He sweat drop, recalling that he couldn't cheat in public. The system slapped a wooden hammer at his skull, telling him he's foolish. She yelled that she didn't say he had to participate in cultivation, but rather ordered him to utilize his superior approach to overcome them. Chan yelled with anguish. Chan was enraged when she told him to utilize a technique that he was excellent at. He shouted that he was only good at farming. How do I compare to this? He asked fiercely. The system pulled out watermelons and advised him not to worry. She recommended employing this technique. A large watermelon in the left hand, it eventually dawned on him, and a fantastic thought hit him like lightning. At Jiatia College's central square, someone issued an announcement that the tournament had ended. Jiang Eugene from the Jia Qinglong group is the winner of this game. The next competitor is Bing Qinglong's group, Chan Fan vs Jiang Tao. People were just standing there, listening to the announcement. Chan stretched, preparing to battle. He'll be fighting the person he met when he first arrived at this institution, and he is his enemy since he insulted Jiang Ruxue. Chan was astounded by the apparent ridiculousness of this armor. What were they thinking? He pondered. The idiot smirked within his armor as he told him that he had a successful sneak attack last time. But this time, I'd want to see how. You shatter my armor, he stated. Chan was confident in his ability to break it, and he told the fool that they would find out later if it could be broken. He then unleashed his Tai Chi abilities, demonstrating his status as the god of Tai Chi on this ancient martial technique. He assured him that if he had the ability, he could fight like a real man without utilizing magic. The moron arrogantly reacted by stating who was terrified of whom. Just like you said, young master, I don't need any magic to defeat you. He removed the mask that covered his face immediately after saying those words, indicating that he intended to depend on physical strength rather than magical skills. He sprang with such power that the earth under him broke, pushing him forward as he raced directly for Chan. In the back of the idiot's mind, he wondered, how can Chan defeat him with invincible armor? This impenetrable armor can withstand some spell damage and all physical damage. Chan remained cool and unconcerned, smiling even as the guy's punch came perilously near to his face. He quickly grabbed his arm and shoved him away. At that point, he used 1,000 lines to the west strategy. The imbecile was aggressively shoved back as they fumbled away from their opponent. The remaining pupils were utterly taken aback. Ming gritted his teeth in hatred, driven by a scorching rage. The fool surged into the air, flourishing his foot and preparing to deliver a strong hit to his opponent. Meanwhile, Chan kept a calm look and took up a ready stance, surrounded by a bright golden light. Just as Ming was ready to deliver a kick, Chan responded with a lightning-fast punch to the face. The power of the impact caused Ming's helmet to fly off. Chan successfully swung the person using his Tai Chi skills, drawing amusement from bystanders. They mocked him, dismissing him as a mere toy in Chan's hands. Observers couldn't help but feel disappointed as they saw how this act brought shame to their family. After Chan was finished, he remained calm and inquired whether he was persuaded. The fool lay on the ground, disoriented, and cursed, warning Chan not to get carried away. The former headmaster and Jiang Jingyun were surprised by Chan's exceptional ability. The former headmaster wondered whether Chan was concealing anything. Xiao would just smirk, thinking to herself that Xiao Fan finally stopped disguising his power. She thought to herself, "It appears that I will be able to rest peacefully in the future." Jiang Tao's father was upset. He leaped as he was about to strike Xiao Fan, shouting that he was a despicable thief. Xiao Wu, the former headmaster, and Jiang Jingyun were all startled that he was going to harm a pupil. Jiang Ruxia was enraged, and she exclaimed, "How could you interfere in the college competition? This is a foul." Jiang Xing didn't care what these people thought. He told his son that they should fight Chan together. His kid rose up and said he would do what his father suggested. The other kids couldn't believe it since it was quite terrible. Both father and son didn't give a hoot about what other people thought since they were consumed by rage. Xing yelled, "What rules should he follow when dealing with monsters?" The father and son launched a magic beam. Jiang Jingyun rose up with the others, shouting for Jiang Xing to stop. She shouted that he was going to kill a student. Chan employed Tai Chi once again, but this time with more ferocity as the strikes approached. Chan caught the two techniques, leaving both father and son stunned and perplexed as to how he was accomplishing it. Chan quickly turned the tables, using their opponents' own technique against them. The intensity of the strike sent both of them backward. When father and son were knocked unconscious, Chan wondered how they could overcome him if they weren't as strong as him. He pondered. A student was impressed, so he questioned the others. "Is there really a miraculous magical boxing technique that can deliver all attacks?" The other one who was next to him responded that Elder Jin just said that he used demonic methods. The others were just amazed, and Jiang Rushua's affection and admiration for Chan continued to deepen. Xiao Wu was filled with fury as she descended quickly to the arena, her voice booming as she talked of the Jiang family and his son disrupting the college competition and attempting to murder their peers. "I will report this matter to the king, and they will face punishment," she said sternly. Chan was simply glad his wife intervened before things became worse. Xiao Wu feigned not to know Chan, calling him a student, and respectfully requested him to tell him the truth about what move he used, as she was fascinated. Chan had an air of nonchalance, but you could sense the pride in his tone when he informed her it was martial arts. Xiao Wu smiled and took advantage of the occasion, saying loudly in the name of the supervisor, "I appoint Chan Fan as the new elder of Jiadia Academy." The headmaster was shocked, and he attempted to stop her, telling Miss Superintendent that she should at least address this with him. But she didn't listen, as she hoisted Chan's palm in the air and declared, "Chan Fan is the winner of this bout. I hope that as an elder at Jiadia College you can do your best." She went on to add that he should continue to teach martial arts. Let King Yunyu's popularity spread across the countries. Chan beams with delight at his achievement. Chan stared at his compound in awe, as his compound was surrounded by mountains and rivers. This compound was the only one around the area, and he also saw birds singing and how flowers are fragrant. At this moment, he realized that being an elder also has such benefits, so it's not a loss. Xiao Wu warned Xiao Fan to stop gazing since his students had already out the door. Chan was astonished that they had arrived so early. He immediately hurried outside because he was glad to see his own pupils, and in the back of his mind, he was thrilled to have his own apprentice so soon after joining the school. He wanted to know whether he truly was a genius. His 3 students were outside, and Jiang Ruxia greeted Chan, the tall guy with glasses. His name is Ling Ling Paint. The short one's name is Zhao Seer. As he opened the door and faced his 3 students, a wave of shock and speechlessness washed over him. This was not the scene he had envisioned. He had pictured a grand entrance, with students bowing and greeting him as he opened the door. However, reality had other plans. Jiang Ruxia paused, her words stuck in her mouth as she noticed Chan's reaction. Chan seemed deep in contemplation, his countenance serious as he considered something. He reasoned that now that he is an elder of this academy, it would be easy for him to be a world-class master. And he was determined to become a world-class master. Jiang Rishua was astounded by the look on his face. She flushed, recalling that Senior's eyes were filled with eagerness, excitement, and exploration. She continued to believe that just watching him like this caused her body to heat up and a constant stream of strength to flow forth. Xiaofan got near to Jiang Rishua, caressed her shoulder, and informed her she qualified. She simply gazed at him in confusion, not understanding what he was saying. He then approached his next pupil, touched his shoulder, and inquired if he was doing any exercise since he could tell he was really strong. Ling Ling Paint responded genuinely. I'm not doing anything special, but I'm moving bricks. Jiang Rishua looked at Chan with a little flush on her cheeks. The minute the senior touched her, her body became paralyzed, and she wondered if this is how it feels to teach Taoism. Chan faked coughed, informing his pupils that the three of them had excellent qualities and might become his followers. However, if you want to master martial arts, you still need one key component, he said. All three pupils wanted to know what they were missing since they were anxious to know what it was, and the short one wanted to know whether it was a martial intention. A mass of menacing red clouds erupted out of nowhere, followed by lightning strikes. The pupils were shocked and concerned by what they saw. Jiang Rishua questioned whether martial intention was the same as martial soul. Chan heard her question and waved his hand dismissively. To everyone's amazement, as he swept his palm through the air, the dark red clouds vanished instantly. And he said to her that martial spirit is innate. But martial arts, the true meaning of martial arts, can be learned. Jiang Rishua was curious, and she inquired if they might be as strong as him if they developed martial intention. He answered without hesitation. Yes, telling them, as long as they follow his approach and develop martial will, they will grow powerful quickly. Chan is lying on this one. Of course, he isn't doing it on purpose since he is unaware of his own strength. In truth, he has never utilized all of his full power. He then enthusiastically told them to go for it. He cleared his throat and explained what he meant. He instructed them to capture a tiger, a crane, and a monkey and return here. He offered to teach them how to practice martial arts. All three of them were confused as their sweat dropped, but they all agreed to do what he said. In the woods, the warriors were wiped off by a tiger who devoured them while chewing. He murmured delicious. He proceeded, saying that warrior flesh is the most tasty. Each meal boosts my spiritual strength. He felt an itch just then. He questioned why he felt an itch on his head. The tiger felt impending danger, which perplexed him since he had previously slain all of the warriors there. All three pupils rushed out of the woods, and Jiang Rishua told the Jimao Tiger King that the elders had ordered them to catch him. Why don't you simply surrender now, she said confidently. They all landed to the ground, their auras surrounding them like a flashy new fashion trend. Ling Ling, the person with spectacles, was questioning what she said, so he inquired if she was sure Elder Chan wanted them to catch it. Zhao Seer added, "This is a demon beast on the level of a demon king." Jiang Rishua told them strongly. When Elder Chan urged them to hunt tigers, she inquired how they could trap an average tiger. Only the demon king is worthy of the elder's attention, she said confidently. The tiger grinned darkly and questioned if he had heard her well. He wanted to clarify whether they intended to capture him. The tiger transformed, revealing its super physique. Everyone was taken aback when they saw this. The tiger stood on its hind legs, beginning a full metamorphosis. He said in a devilish tone, "Do 3 Xian-level little babies dare to scream here? Could it be that they have not been weaned yet?" he inquired mockingly. Jiang Rishua was furious. She leaped as she was about to attack him, shouting that she doesn't care if he looks down on them, but he shouldn't dare to look down on Elder Chan. She shouted that the only way out is for him to die. The tiger was outraged, delivering a tremendous roar as he cautioned them not to underestimate their own skills. He defeated them all with a single tremendous swipe of his claws. Back in the presbytery bedroom, Chan and Xiaowu spoke, and she inquired, "How does he feel about his first day of teaching?" Xiaowu informed him, "From now on, he will be a well-known instructor with numerous peaches and plums over the globe." Chan smiled and just responded, "If you say so." Xiaofan softly pulled her into his arms and treated her like a princess. He whispered in her ear, telling her that she was precious to the master and had disciples all across the world. She was astonished and perplexed as to why he lifted her up. Chan grinned, suggesting that they should test out the new bed and see whether it's comfortable to sleep on. Xiaowu reddened, understanding exactly what he was talking about. The previous redhead guy was sobbing as he lamented to the others that they couldn't fight the Demon King now that it had transformed. No one could live. Ling Ling Paint coughed out blood, exhaled in relief, and asked what they should do next. Jiang Ruxua was shivering and straining to get up when she spoke to the purple-head person, informing him that Elder Chan Fan would not let them die in vain. "Please think about what he said before leaving," she said, fully trusting Chan's words. She remembered that Chan gave her dry food and he explained why she was giving her this food. She immediately took out the dry food, only to be confronted by the fearsome tiger, who threatened to devour them all. The dry meal gave out a tremendous aura, and she stared at it with interest. And, as we all know, the food created by Chan is always magical and has unique magical qualities. Jiang Ruxue. Eat the dry food. The purple-headed man was completely taken aback, shouting at the top of his lungs and asking whether she wanted to eat before she died. The redhead man was also outraged. When she was done, she nonchalantly discarded the leftover dry food. Suddenly, a flash of golden light surrounded her, like if she had just leveled up in video games. And indeed, she underwent a major metamorphosis as her body developed. A hot crimson aura surrounded the tiger as it pounced at its victim, only to be easily repelled by Jiang Ruxue. She exclaimed boldly, "He had no idea how powerful Elder Chan was." The perverted tiger glanced at her melons and was shocked as his eyes turned into hearts, thinking that her human form is so flawless that she is much more gorgeous than the demon king from the giant mountain range. After executing a tremendous uppercut, she forced the tiger's head to jerk back and let out a meow. Jiang Ruxue was also furious with his classmates because they were gazing at her melons. The man with the glasses swore and yelled "Run away," and both of them attempted to flee. However, their escape attempt was short-lived as Jiang Ruxue quickly caught up with them and beat them up. Both of them seemed to be pleading for mercy, but she couldn't stop herself from beating them up. In the evening, Xiaowu inquired of Xiaofan as to when he planned to meet with other members of the global village. Chan comforted her, saying that once the school issues were resolved, they would go locate them together. He mumbled, wondering how to locate them in such a large crowd. He was already aware that there is no GPS in this period, so he'll have to use another means to find them. Xiaowu saw that Chan was worried, and she reassured him, telling him that the faithful fate of the ascended people would affect the mainland's original rules of heaven. She explained that they can collect surrounding news to see where abnormalities occur. Chan doubted what she said. About fate, he asked skeptically if there was such an operation. He hugged her, praising her, saying his wife is so knowledgeable and knows everything. Xiaowu couldn't help but smile, filled with joy at his warm embrace. In that moment, Jiang Ruxue called out to him, telling him that they were back. Xiaowu pulled Chan away, informing him that his pupils had returned and that he needed to go to class fast. Chan chuckled, thinking to himself that his wife looked adorable when she was shy. Xiaofan stepped outside joyfully, opened the door, and spoke, asking if everything was well, and telling them all to let him look at their. He came to a halt before he could say anything further, taken aback by the monsters in front of him. He witnessed the golden-head Tiger King, a 1,000-year-old crane monkey with a human face. When he saw all of these monsters, his sweat dropped. Chan questioned in shock what those things were, and she responded that this was the golden-head tiger king, the 1,000-year-old crane, and the immortal monkey with a human face, all of which were taken according to his commands. She smiled and continued to say that despite several obstacles, she was able to complete the assignment using the dry food he had given her. The purple-head guy said that it is all due to Elder Chan. The redhead also said that Elder Chan had a brilliant scheme since they believed Chan was the one who planned everything from the start. Chan's sweat dropped as he became furious. He calmed himself, recognizing that there are no regular animals, so they'll have to rely on the monsters instead. Chan calmed down and clapped for her, telling her that the tiger demon is also a tiger, and since she is also awesome, he would now teach her how to comprehend the actual essence of martial art. Jiang Rishua was ecstatic when he asked Xiaofan whether he was going to slaughter those 3 kings to boost his power. Chan smiled and said, "Of course not." He made a tiger stance and informed her that in a few days she would eat and live with those 3 monsters to watch their behaviors and postures. He asserted that the actual meaning of martial arts would not be realized until the form of beasts is combined with martial arts abilities. The perverse tiger eagerly clutched Jiang Rishua's leg, assuring her that the elder had phrased it well: they would eat and live together and never part. Jiang Rishua became enraged, thinking to herself that she truly wanted to beat this tiger up. The monkey and the crane remained quiet while they untangled themselves. The crane spoke, informing the monkey that the tiger had crouched down too rapidly. When the monkey was fleeing, he questioned Crane why he couldn't do something about the licking cat, and he advised the crane to take advantage of the situation and flee. The poor monkey didn't even have a chance to flee before being slapped. Chan was perplexed by what he observed. The crane yelled at the monkey, questioning what credentials he had to condemn others. The crane began fighting the monkey, yelling at him and asking if he wanted to slip out to find the vixen again. The crane was enraged and called the monkey a stinking monkey. The monkey wailed in agony, reminding the crane that a decent guy does not fight a lady. He told the crane to be nice. The crane was enraged. It answered, asking him if he could truly fight it since she would kill him. The monkey wailed in anguish, imploring her to stop fighting, and then screamed in pain again, crying, "I was wrong!" Chan was speechless for a time. While eating a watermelon, he asked Jiang Rishua what was going on since he didn't understand why the monkey and the crane were fighting. Jiang Rishua was also watching the battle and said she didn't know. The tiger overheard the exchange and informed Master Chan not long ago. A fox with 9 tails visited the giant mountains and charmed the 2 of them. The tiger winked, telling her that he only liked her. Jiang Rishua informs the tiger, emotionlessly, that she has never heard of the 9-tailed fox. Chan heard what the tiger said, and he wondered whether it was the weird event that Xiaowu had stated. The tiger sobbed upon being rejected. "Oh no, not her again. Please, I'm begging you, please let it not be her." Anyway, as they were conversing, nobody seemed to have noticed a fox perched atop a tree. In a hushed tone, she whispered that he had been there all along. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.